crop superintendent of the Alaska State Fair here in Palmer, Alaska. Good food, good fun, good times, world-class vegetables, great seed stock. The dates for our fair are August 28th through September 8th. Come and join us up here. See what we have to offer.
Working for Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds.
Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds.
They have an incredible climate for growing root crops and vegetables, virtually pest-free. Here's a display of giant vegetables. That is an OS cross cabbage, famous for its large size. And the center right there. How blemish-free the leaves are. And here's some more monster root crops. Cabbage. Present Alaska only grows about 3% of its food, but people are trying to change that. People like the people that are growing these vegetables. Look at the size of these fawls. There's my hand in comparison.
Hi, I'm Jaime Rodriguez. I'm the assistant gardener here at the Matt Valley Agricultural Showcase Garden. It was started in 1987 with some federal agricultural money. The original plan for the garden was to just have demonstration rows of the vegetable crops that the original colonists grew. One thing's true about Alaska gardening, it changes a little bit every year because you never know what the weather's going to throw at you and where there are going to be holes in the garden that have to be filled with something. This is our new arbor that was just built for us this year to hold this clematis. It's one of the original plants from the garden in 1987. It's Clematis tangutica, Siberian clematis. For many years it was the only flowering vine that anyone grew here in Alaska. We've since expanded the list, but it's still a beauty. My favorite planting of it is to put it at the bottom of a spruce tree because it'll climb all the way to the top, and then you have a spruce tree with yellow flowers that'll stop traffic. One of the things that makes the whole garden possible, and it's kind of hard to see except from the distance, is this whole row of trees here is a windbreak that was planted intentionally to help protect the garden from our winds, which can blow up to 50 miles an hour. Originally known as the colonists' bed, and the only plants grown in it were original heirloom varieties that the colonists grew when they settled this area in the 1930s. The only surviving plant from that original design is this strawberry. It's an heirloom strawberry that they call the Sitka strawberry. It's got a medium-sized berry that ripens to a sort of pink salmony orange color. We just refurbished the bed this year. It's kind of been taken over by this perennial sunflower here, and we've got clumps of it that we left survive, and we're still having to fork up the strays. This is the OS cross, the Oriental Supreme cabbage. It's the giant cabbage of Alaskan fame. This one probably weighs somewhere between 30 and 60 pounds if we were to weigh it out. It's a pretty good one as giant cabbages go. What's really surprising about them is that even though they're huge, they're sweet and tender, they're not a bit woody. The entire thing is edible, even the outside leaves. I first saw these two kale crops growing at Rosemary Veery's potager garden in the Cotswolds, and they were about a foot tall, and they were beautiful in her garden. But I realized what we can do with kale crops here in Alaska. They're my two favorite kales. It's Tuscan kale and red boar. One thing that's useful to know, all of the food crops that get grown in this garden get harvested and donated to the Senior Citizens Club here, where they get used in their Meals on Wheels program and for the lunches that they cook. So nothing goes to waste here. This is our native rhodiola rosea, which is the latest rage in the horticultural industry here because it turns out Russians have been using this plant as an anti-aging herbal food supplement for decades, and people think it might be Alaska's next great crop plant. It grows at the very high elevations in our local mountains, but it also does well in the garden here. Some of our other native plants, we have a little daisy here, a Rigeron compositus. There's this native geranium here. This is our little dwarf Jacob's ladder, the beautiful Jacob's ladder, Polemonium pulcherrimum. We have a couple outside plants. This is the eastern dwarf sand cherry. It's a lovely little cherry shrub, and the little black cherries that grow on it are delicious and make a wonderful jelly. Subshrub alpine willows, and this is my favorite one, the netleaf willow. It's just going into its fall display. It's an amazingly tough plant.
Carrot. Mr. Remper is known as the carrot, pretty much the carrot man in Alaska here. Everybody asks for his carrots, and he just handed me one fresh out of the ground. This is incredible. It's so sweet and flavorful. It's worth flying all the way to Alaska, or even driving to Alaska to taste it. Thank you. Very good.
17, my father planted about an acre of carrots to begin putting my sisters and I through college. So I've been raising carrots for about 40 years. And Rempel carrots have become, the stores literally call me in the fall and say, are you bringing them, or when are you bringing them? People ask the produce managers for Rempel carrots. 1990, my wife and I moved down from Kotzebue, where we had met, and took over this farm that I grew up on. It was 4 when I moved here from another place in Palmer, so I've lived in Alaska all my life. I'm a native. The soil here is wonderful sandy loam, but not very nutritious or firm to start with. When I was a kid and we raised carrots for me to go to college, Dad used chemical fertilizer and a little bit of herbicide and pesticide to keep away weeds and worms. But in 1990, when I took over, I didn't like spraying because I had been part of a big company and I knew about protecting yourself from chemicals. So I didn't like donning all the gear to protect myself from something that supposedly was okay later. And organics were kind of becoming popular then, and I looked into it and found that Alaska has very few pests, and we have a wonderful thing called fish bone meal that comes out of our bottom fishing industry. And so I was able to build the soil. I did a side-by-side test of chemical fertilizer and fish bone meal on potatoes and found that the yield of marketable potatoes was way above what it was with the chemical. So I began the switch to organic and actually helped start Alaska Organic Association in 1999 and became one of the first farmers in Alaska to be certified organic. And I've watched my soil grow and become brown and smell different, and I've watched the robins come back and kill the cutworms patrol for cutworms along the sides of the field. Really fun to watch in the spring. And the yields increase, and my density of crop increase, and disease subside, and it's just been fun to watch. When my father came here in 1959 and began farming this land, or looking at this land, he saw the silty sandy loam that is in the San Joaquin Valley of California, where he was 14 when he moved up here. And he said, that's the land I want. I had no idea about how wonderful that soil was until I began to farm in 1990. But Dad farmed conventionally. He cleared the land conventionally, took a dozer and peeled off the trees and shoved it into a stone throw. As I've cleared land, I've carefully have picked out the stumps and left as much topsoil as I possibly can and burned the stumps so I get the potassium. And I find that the land I clear is far more productive immediately. The organic matter is up higher than it was when the older fields have been farmed a long time. I continue to add horse manure, but another big plus of the farming organically up here is pristine environment. My water is clean. It's 40 feet down, all I want. And anywhere I want to poke a hole. The air is clean. I mean, on a clear day, you can see 150 miles up here. Mountains 150 miles away are visible. I don't think you see that very many other places in the world.
Now we're off to the Matanuska State Recreational Area, Matanuska Glacier. So let's see what happens. So here we are at the glacier finally.